Welcome everyone to It Starts With You, Relationship Building at Berkeley, presented by Charlotte Cowden and Jennifer Mora. My name is Julie Shackford Bradley and I will be your behind the scenes moderator. Please note that we'll be providing the slides and a recording of this session to everyone on the main Now Conference website after the conference has concluded. And also note that in today's session, you'll be muted. So please add any questions you have to the chat. I'll be collecting questions and moderating a Q&A at the end of the session. And you can also message me directly if you wish for your question to remain anonymous. Also, just to let you know, there's closed captioning available. So if you need that, click on the CC box at the bottom of the screen to allow for subtitles. And I'd like to introduce our panelists for today. I would like to first introduce Charlotte Cowden. She's a senior analyst on the Principal Gifts and Strategic Initiatives team at University Development and Alumni Relations. She's responsible for stewardship, operations, and strategy work, supporting frontline fundraisers as they engage with our most generous campus partners to further the university's mission. Charlotte has been a proud UC Berkeley staffer since 2012 and has held a variety of roles on campus in research units, schools, and central fundraising. She received a PhD in history from UC Berkeley. And I'd also like to introduce Jennifer Mora, who is the Director of Development at University Development and Alumni Relations at UC Berkeley. She's the Director of Development with the Student Experience and Diversity team at University Development and Alumni Relations. In her role, Jennifer partners with alumni and friends on philanthropic opportunities to advance the university's vision for student access and success. Jennifer has been on the UC campus since 2007 and began her career in higher education advancement at the Cal Alumni Association. She received her BA in Chicana and Chicano Studies from UCLA and her Master's of Public Administration from Sonoma State University. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our presenters.
Thank you, Julie. Before we begin, we want to provide space for the land acknowledgement up on the screen. Please take a few moments to read it and we'll get started. Thank you. Good morning and welcome again to It Starts With You, Building Relationships at Berkeley. I want to thank Julie again for the warm introduction. And I'd also like to begin by extending my gratitude to you for joining us. We know you have several sessions to choose from, so thank you for being with us today. I'd like to pass it to my colleague and co-presenter, Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I'm really delighted to be here today and to have everyone join us. We're so excited that you're here, and we just want to extend our gratitude to all of you. We hope that everyone can be as present as possible while we're sharing space together, and we can appreciate the time that we have together and have some fun. So with that in mind, oops, I'm in trouble. There we go. We want to do a welcome and roll call. So in the chat, if you can put your name, your years of service, and the first place you want to travel after shelter in place, we can just get to know each other a little bit better in the Zoom room and hopefully maybe be inspired for some travel destinations that we haven't thought of.
Okay, I am loving the chat. I love to see all these inspirational destinations, New Zealand, Hawaii. I saw Iceland.
Disneyland.
Disneyland, one of my favorite spots. And I'm loving all from 10 months, did I see someone 13 years? This is incredible. Please keep it up. It's so inspiring for me to see the years of service, as well as new folks to Berkeley. Welcome. And all those travel destinations. I think I'm going to add a few of these to my list. Let's see. So please continue to introduce yourself while I share the roadmap for our time together. We're going to begin our session with how to get started with building relationships at Berkeley. We will provide tips and tools for creating connections and share why creativity and courage are important. We will round out our time together with discussing the value of fostering a culture of recognition and appreciation, and conclude with benefits and key takeaways, as well as time for your questions. So let's kick off our session objectives. First, we want to share how you can amplify your networks to your advantage, personal and professional. Second, we will provide tactics for celebrating your accomplishments. And finally, discuss the value of lifting each other up.
All right, so let's get started. I think that we titled our presentation, It Starts With You. So naturally, we're going to talk about how it starts with you. First, we're really going to encourage you to take some time and be introspective and do some deep thinking about yourself and your goals. So who is the work you, and what do you want in terms of connections in your work life? And not just what do you want, but why do you want those things? This is a really important step because it's going to be your roadmap and help you chart your course. If you don't know why you're going somewhere and you don't know where you're going, it's a lot harder to get there. So you need to understand yourself, where you're coming from and what you want, and have some clear intentions, which is going to illuminate how you can grow. And don't worry, there are a few tactical steps that you can take that will help you get started. So one great avenue, tried and true, very literal, we have it here on the slide, you can do some journaling. Keep running notes, random thoughts or themes about your work life, things you're satisfied with, things you want to improve. It doesn't have to be really complicated for it to be effective. Another great tactic is to check in with a colleague or a friend and set some quarterly goals. I really like to do this, and quarterly is a great interval because not too much time passes, but it is a substantive amount of time where you can make a difference or advance something that you want. And I find it really generative and inspiring. You have someone who can hold you accountable, challenge you, or cheer you, or both, which is, I think, the best type of quarterly check-in, is a little bit of a push and some cheering. And then finally, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take a diagnostic like a Myers-Briggs or Strength Finder, which I find they're really powerful tools that you take with a grain of salt, but they're a good frame of reference if you feel like they really reflect you and unearth some things that maybe you hadn't thought of. They can be really effective. And I did want to kind of take a moment and ask in the group, this sort of brain trust that we have assembled, if anyone else has an assessment or a tool or a tactic that they felt was really informative or useful to help them kind of start on their journey. If you can share it in chat, we would really love that. I guess sort of selfishly, I'm hoping to learn a little bit from the group that we're with. We have a big group, so it'd be great to learn what people find useful. So with some sort of introspection and the groundwork laid, next it's time to maybe identify some small tweaks and some easy wins. So these are things that make you feel good. I find that in my own life, gratitude is very generative. And I've also found at work, easy wins can be really generative too. And so giving the thinking you've done, what are some minor changes that will set you up well and make you feel grounded in your work? So the more grounded you are, the easier it is to feel like you're ready to connect with other people. So this is a classic, but are there times when a certain time of day when you feel particularly sharp or really effective? And how can you use that time to your advantage? Do you schedule meetings during that time? Do you block it to do some deep introspective thinking? Do you want to do something fun during that time? Do you want to change it up? So that's something that I know people say this all the time, but it's a small tweak and it can really be helpful. Another one that I have personally found very helpful is, do you have a good description of your role or what you like about your role in your back pocket? And I truly, truly dislike self-introductions. They make me very nervous. We're going around the table. I'm counting, like, how long does it get till it's my turn? And I also currently have a somewhat cryptic title. And so finally, for the first time ever, I just came up with a blurb, which is sort of what Julie had shared in the presenter introduction, which was supporting amazing frontline fundraisers as they secure transformational gifts to the university. And, this really works well for me because it's positive. It gives a sense of what my team does. It emphasizes what's important to me about our work, which is our public mission. But also it really gives me confidence when I introduce myself. And I feel like when I've given what I feel is an effective self-introduction, I'm more willing to connect with people. I'm not so nervous. And it's a really small tweak. So this is also something that Jennifer's going to talk about later, but you can share in your LinkedIn profile too. So I would encourage you to do, if that's not something you've done, like that bothered me forever. And finally, I just sat down and I was like, oh, that was so easy. Why didn't I do that before? So after you've done some thinking, you've grounded yourself, now it's time to consider how you can get out of your comfort zone. And I think we talk very cliched about what a comfort zone is. I don't know if we always interrogate what it is and think about, why are you most comfortable? How is that working to your advantage? And why is that? And are things serving you well in your comfort zone, or is it a little bit out of date? And if it's a little bit out of date, can you imagine what a new boundary might be? And then is that something you're willing to share with maybe someone who's holding you accountable at a quarterly check-in, something you're going to write down? So there's a lot of very foundational steps that you can take just to set yourself up well, so that when you are ready to create connections, meet other people at Berkeley, you feel really strong and grounded in what you have to share and you're ready to go. So with having done some of this broader and deeper thinking, I'm going to pass it back to Jennifer, and she's going to ground us in some more actionable steps.
Thank you, Charlotte. And yes, I do want to reiterate the value of starting with you. And I know I've had to do some deep dives with myself and get out of my comfort zone. And sometimes that means feeling uncomfortable. But that work has allowed me to really intentionally create connections, which is what I'm going to talk about next. So let's take a closer look at amplifying our personal and professional networks to our advantage. So the first step to creating connections is to know your network. What are the strengths of your networks? For example, strengths can be the quality and the quantity of your network. Is your network expansive and inclusive of the many areas of your life? So for me, my network includes coworkers, family, friends, parents I've met through my children's schools and extracurricular activities, as well as acquaintances that I know through professional development activities or mutual friends and colleagues. And this NOW conference is a great way to start building my network. And I hope you would take advantage of that as well. So after understanding the strengths of your network, consider growth opportunities. Are you connecting with your Berkeley colleagues? Are you activating and leveraging your network? When I think of my network and my growth opportunities, one for me is staying in touch, which brings me to ways of creating connections. When I think of making connections at Berkeley, one place I like to start with is my go-to networking tool, which is LinkedIn, especially after a common interaction like today. Today's session is a great reason to connect. I encourage you to start now by sharing your LinkedIn profile in the chat throughout our time together. I'm going to go ahead and get us started and share mine. So as we continue with our time together, I encourage you to put your LinkedIn profile as well as connect with folks who add theirs in the chat. When I send a LinkedIn request, I like to include a simple note about how and when we met. Like, for example, I'd reach out to say, Charlotte, it was great to meet you in the now session this morning. I'd love to stay in touch. And then it's a frame of reference. Let's see. Now that you know your network within and outside of LinkedIn, what is next? First, be intentional about leveraging your network. When do you reach out? I like to reach out to my fundraising colleagues when I have a question about the industry or need advice on a solicitation strategy. Other times, I want to acknowledge colleagues for a job well done. I intentionally comment and like LinkedIn posts to stay active in the online conversation. Would anyone else like to share some reasons that you reach out or other ways we can be intentional? Please share in the chat. I love what Charlotte said earlier. We're all sharing space and we all have something to contribute. And I know I learn when I'm in conversations and hear about others' experiences. Thanks everyone for putting in the LinkedIn chats. This is fantastic. And again, if you have any ideas or go-tos or successes for reaching out, please share those as well. Throughout this past 15 months of working from home, it's hard to believe it's been that long, I scheduled virtual coffees to connect with colleagues who I would see in the office halls or on campus. And I've missed all of them, but the virtual coffees have been really helpful. When I connect with colleagues or expand my network, I like to practice active listening. I generally want to hear how my colleagues are doing. And if they are offering advice, active listening is especially important for me. I take time to reiterate what I hear. I ask open-ended questions and I make eye contact. So with that being said, we'd like to move into an activity. We are going to move you into conversation rooms of 4 for 5 minutes and would like you to create some connections now. Please give us a few minutes as we move you into the rooms. Charlotte and I will stay in the main Zoom room if anyone has questions. And we are putting the suggested questions in the chat. And we will see you in a few minutes.
Are they in the chat? Yes.
Okay, give me one moment. I'm going to be opening up the breakout rooms in just a second here.
So combination of burger and fries can be veggie burger. If you want to throw something else in there, you can throw something of a surprise. But if you love like the McDonald's fries and something else burger, like what would be your dream combo if you could make a combo? It's actually much more divisive than you might originally think. People have a lot of opinions. So we're hoping we can have a good conversation about that. So.
Okay. Hi, Patricia. So they are currently in breakout sessions for just a few more minutes. So if you want to join for the last couple minutes, or you can feel free to stay in the main session.
Patricia, you can chat with us.
Do we want to do the 2-minute warning, Charlotte?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
I can broadcast that out.
Thank you. Just linking with everybody.
Hi, James. Welcome. Hi, Richard. Welcome. We're wrapping up our breakout rooms, and Evan will be joining in a couple of minutes, and we'll continue the presentation.
Thank you so much.
Being the connective bridge between two associates. Yeah, that's good.
Marissa, are you closing the breakout rooms?
Yep, I can close it. I can close them now, and then they usually get a 60-second countdown.
Yeah, that would be
I'll
great.
close it right now.
Oh,
David, I don't know how we can send you back to your room. Sorry.
it's okay. I see my
You see your
co-room
crew.
person is back. I
Okay.
clicked the wrong button.
Okay.
I'll connect with you, Douglas.
Oh, perfect. That's exactly what we want. All right. So I think that.
Yes, are we all back? Is everyone back? Welcome back, everyone. We hope you enjoyed your time together. How was that for you? If anyone would like to share about the experience, please do so using the chat function. I love all the lively conversation. And again, let's keep those LinkedIn URLs rolling in the chat. And I'm now going to turn it back over to Charlotte.
All right. Oh, and Carrie's saying, I wish we had more time, which is a great reason to connect with someone outside of the now session. So I'm going to go turn back to the presentation. Let's see how if I can do this here. Oops, let's try this. Okay. Okay. So it looks like per Carrie, hopefully you met someone new, and also what David said, looking to connect with someone or saw a familiar face, which is exactly what we wanted. And hopefully you can connect more afterwards. So thanks so much everyone for engaging in that activity. We felt we could do breakout rooms because this is a presentation about making connections at Berkeley. I know sometimes when there's a breakout room, you're like, oh, I'm out of here. So thank you for staying post breakout room with us. And I hope that you had some lively conversations. So I'm going to talk about creativity and courage, and why are we using this frame? So honestly, sometimes it's easy to really be in a rut and feel uninspired, especially these days. We're not always thinking expansively about our work selves and our work. And so again, coming back to what we have titled the session about, starting with you, I want us to take some time to consider how we think about ourselves and our work. There's a few ways we can go about this. One question to ask is, there's different layers. So what do you want people in your networks and your colleagues and on your team to really know you for? What would make you proud? And this is sort of action and behavior based. It's work output, but it's also, what do you feel like you're really good at? So, maybe you're a subject matter expert in something that's highly technical. You're generally known as a problem solver. You're a good collaborator. I bet we have a few Bear by pros on this call, or maybe a Cal Answers super user, who I always find personally just so dazzling. Cal Answers is so hard. So whenever I see, or it's a power user, Cal Answers power user, I'm like, wow, you're amazing. A great teammate, so you can kind of think about, how do you want to project yourselves in the world, in the work world, and what do you enjoy and what brings you joy? So we're actually going to do another activity, which is a word cloud. This is, fingers crossed, we think it'll work. It's really cool to visualize what this amazing group is made of, and how we all see ourselves and how we can share that with others. So we're going to put a link in the chat, and the prompt, it's going to take you to a prompt, which is describe in 1 to 3 adjectives what your assets and strengths are and what you want to be known for. So if you go to the link and start entering things, we'll see what this group is made of. So we want you to be bold, something that feels like a stretch, something you're really proud of. And of course it's anonymous. So, really you can share boldly, and then we're going to see what it looks like in a minute.
Charlotte, you are muted. Just actually unmute yourself.
So this is, I love how it's moving in real time. So this is amazing. We have a kind group. We're innovative, we're accountable, we're creative, we're compassionate, and like, what an incredible group. So I'm gonna, now that we kind of know what we're made of, I'm gonna swap out and go back. All right. So that was really fun and cool. Thanks, guys. I want to kind of zoom out a bit and think about, how do we project these words and sentiments in our actions? So we had kind, we had collaborative, we had empathetic. A lot of this is, it's not just what we say, but how we work with others that serves as a form of communication. And so, for example, I really value collaboration and I really enjoy it. And it's one of those kind of things that I was talking about that I want people to know me for. And so pretty recently I started, after I've done a big project or a complex project, or just a project that was really fun with multiple stakeholders, I really try very intentionally to loop everyone back in on the results and hopefully the impact. And, we don't always do that. Sometimes we just kind of churn through one project to another. But that's been a really great way to close the loop, to make people feel like we're on a team, even if we're actually a lot of cross-functional teams working together, and to build rapport and a sense of community in how we work with others. So I did want to ask if anyone's compelled, does anyone have another example of sort of enacting some of the values and behaviors that how do you display kindness, or how do you display empathy, that you could share in the chat so that we could learn from you and maybe use that in our own work? That would be really great. No pressure though. So scoping out a bit from how we move and how we behave in our environment, thinking about how we champion our work itself. So first we were talking, how do you talk about yourself? How do you enact your work? How do you champion what you are doing? There are lots of different kinds of information that are fun and that are generative to share. People love updates, especially now. I love any news, that hearing what people are up to. And this can and really should be in different tiers or buckets. So, there's what's right to champion and share with your team, what's right to share with your unit, and then what's right to share or would be appropriate to share or interesting with your larger network. And so, there are some obvious ones like project updates or status, interesting outcomes of things, how much you've enjoyed working with someone. I always really love to tell someone like, you had such a great idea. I really enjoyed your thoughts on this project. I really, we can't do everything alone, right? Successes you've earned or you're proud of, classes or certifications that you've taken. So that's something that's really great to share on LinkedIn. If you've taken a class and you've learned something that, maybe you don't want to necessarily share that with someone in your unit, maybe you do, but it's a great thing to share on LinkedIn. So I'm going to see if I can look in the chat, because it looks like someone shared something. Let's see. Yeah, thanks. These are really great. Yeah, having the mindset that everyone is doing their best. I think that's really important, especially now, giving people grace in difficult or scary situations, taking time to acknowledge people's contributions. Exactly. Thank you so much for that, James. Trying to remember. Yeah. So I think we all are feeling that, and I appreciate having that echoed, to just give people grace and make space for people, and understand that we are trying to do and share our best. And so thinking about how we talk about ourselves and our work, and we've assessed our strengths a little bit. How do you do this? So, and when is the right time? So, a completion of a project or a milestone or a win is a really naturally appropriate time to sit back and reflect and share. A formal or informal coffee with a colleague. Jennifer talked about the coffees. I love having coffees with people, either people I know well or people that I want to meet. And it's a great opportunity to share something you're working on. A LinkedIn post, as I mentioned, if you have, a status update, a project you've been working on. I know we say LinkedIn a lot, but it is really useful and valuable, and a great way to meet people. Team meeting or designated time for shout outs. My team recently started doing quarterly shout outs, and I was like, oh, this is corny. And I was like, no, this is wonderful. And we started having we were going to have select, and then it just became like a shout out fest in like the best way possible, because it was really heartfelt and authentic. And then Jennifer had mentioned active listening. And I think that oftentimes we're moving from one thing to the other. And sometimes, if we listen to how other people share about themselves, and do other people give you ideas? Are other people great champions and models that we can learn from in the workplace? Maybe someone on your team is really great at that, and there's something that we can learn from them. So, when we share our work and more about ourselves, and we enact our values, these are our colleagues learn about us, they understand us better, and hopefully you'll be creating rapport and deeper connections with people. And then growing your network, especially by sharing your skills, your responsibilities, your job function. It's a great way to learn about other people and to stretch and grow a little bit beyond your comfort zone. So I'm going to turn it back to Jennifer, who's going to talk about kind of what we had talked about in the comments. Thanks, James and Aiko, building a culture of appreciation. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. And yes, thanks, James and Sarah and Katie, for your comments, because it really is a great place to get us started into this next section. And our session was like, how do we make Berkeley feel smaller? And part of that is fostering a culture of recognition and appreciation. So we started with you. We understand our network. We got creative and courageous. And now we're going to bring that all together to create this culture of recognition and appreciation at Berkeley. Throughout my time at Berkeley, I've discovered the value of building relationships by doing just that. First, I made Berkeley feel smaller by getting involved and reaching out. This has included attending events of interest or valuable for me, such as the NOW conference, professional development workshops offered through the Learning Center, and extension classes have allowed me to create connections and build community. I want to plug again, virtual coffees and LinkedIn. I think, especially in the last 15 months, really made such a difference for me. It got me into a space of being present and having a way to connect with folks, because I wasn't able to do that in the office hallways or walking on campus. And I think they'll continue to be a wonderful way for me to connect. I also want to talk about micro affirmations. Now more than ever, they're especially needed as we navigate uncertainty. And for the purpose of this presentation, a micro affirmation is a small acknowledgement of another person's value. So when James talked about everyone's showing up and doing their best, that is, we want to acknowledge another person's value. And I think of, Charlotte enjoys being a collaborator. So taking time to acknowledge when Charlotte is doing that. And like this presentation is a perfect example of Charlotte, really stepping into collaboration and partnering with me. And I just want to say publicly again, Charlotte, thank you for being you, because I appreciate you a lot. So micro affirmations is a subtle act of inclusion and kindness that goes a long way when built into everyday practice. Being kind to others is one thing that I do. I take genuine interest in others and ask for their opinions. For me, this includes being authentic and curious. What other ways can we acknowledge our colleagues? If you could please share your ideas and practices in chat. I'd love to learn other ways I can do this. I'm not at all inclusive in the ways I do it. I think I can learn more. Thank you, Anthony. Coffee chats don't have to be sitting down together. That is so true. Oh, short walks. I remember doing the walking when I was on campus. I'm looking forward to that. Oh, Patricia, that's a great one. Writing a recommendation on LinkedIn. Let's see. So I'm going to keep moving on to our lifting up each other with appreciation is another way to foster a culture of recognition and appreciation. A simple smile and thank you go a long way. We continue to talk about LinkedIn. Resharing a LinkedIn post that someone has shared is a nice way to acknowledge someone. Celebrating a colleague's win, right? So sometimes we get the emails about people winning a spot award or a manager award, or a shout out from the division about a special project, like following up with that email and saying, hey, I just want to say congratulations, job well done. These are ways that we can lift each other up. Are there other ways? Again, let's keep that conversation rolling. Compensation. Yes, Jessica, that's always a good thing. CCing a colleague's manager when you send them a thank you acknowledged email. Yes, got the +1, Adrian. So anything else, keep the conversation rolling. I'm really enjoying learning from you all. So when it comes to building relationships at Berkeley, for me, kindness is key. We encourage you to begin fostering a culture of recognition and appreciating. OG chatting, that's a good one. Kudo board, those are fun. We are coming to the conclusion already of our time together. Hopefully you have some ideas on how to communicate in a large decentralized environment that starts with you. What are some of the benefits of building relationships at Berkeley? First, you will have greater connection and expanded networks.
And then I guess it kind of makes sense in retrospect in this presentation that I'm the one talking about collaboration in the workplace because I was talking about how much I enjoyed it. It's just easier and more enjoyable to collaborate with people when you know what their self-identified strengths are and when you know what yours are. And rapport should not be underestimated. I think you can, be at Berkeley 3 months, you can be at Berkeley, 13 years. We know that rapport and knowing people and being comfortable with people it's like the fuel that makes the engine of the university run. It's so much easier to give and receive feedback, focus on work, establish shared goals when you know your colleagues better. And it's also easier to collaborate when you understand your own motivations that you bring to a conversation or a project and where and how you want to grow.
I should unmute before I start talking. When you intentionally foster a culture of recognition and appreciation, you create a greater sense of community and belonging at Berkeley for you and others. This in turn will make Berkeley feel smaller, warm, and welcoming for everyone.
Right. Yay. All right. High five. So some key takeaways. I really just want to, first of all, thank everyone for this really amazing presentation. I love seeing the comments in the chat. They're so smart and they're so useful. And yeah, it's just been great. So before we really get into the key takeaways, I just want to take a moment, like Jennifer has been, to reflect a little bit on the why and just express some gratitude that we all came together today to share space in our very large and complicated institution to connect with others and build a culture of appreciation and positivity. And, it's important and it's powerful. So thank you all for that. What we're doing is worthy of recognition and we are part of something larger. So to get to some of the key takeaways, first, this is sort of a recurring theme to really empower yourself to start where you are. We encourage you to use one or more of the tools or tips that we shared, whether it's doing some deep thinking about yourself and your goals, assessing your network and acting with intentionality. I mean, we a lot of the themes and the through line of what we've talked about is really acting with intentionality. And it sounds very simple, but I think it shouldn't. The complexity and the difficulty of that is not underestimated, just because it's so challenging, especially in this environment, to be present. And we're asking a lot of ourselves and our colleagues and each other when we're talking about active listening, being present, thinking about who you are and what you bring to a space. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that. So, empowering yourself, assessing your network, connecting with people on LinkedIn. We should have like a sticker every time we mention LinkedIn and then we get a punch card or something. Giving teammate micro affirmations. And then also, and I really appreciated some of what people said in the chat about being compassionate and having grace for yourself and others. But I do want to say, you've got this, we can do this. Another key takeaway is amplifying your accomplishments. Flex and be those strengths you saw or you added in the word cloud. I thought that was really powerful. And it was really wonderful that a lot of what people shared were kindness and empathy. I don't think we always think about those as things in the workplace when we think about productivity. And so I really appreciated that. I really appreciated seeing that. And then don't forget that you as a Berkeley staff play a huge and important and critical role in making Berkeley excellent. We love to talk about how we're the #1 public university in the world. We're a teaching and research enterprise. We have amazing students, but this place would not run without the staff. We are key. We are part of what makes Berkeley exceptional, and you are part of what makes Berkeley exceptional. And like to my core, I feel that we should be lifting up staff success as we lift up all the other pieces of Berkeley. That is one of my signature key thoughts. And then finally, in terms of takeaways, I talk about practicing lifting ourselves up and, celebrating others. And as I said, it takes intentionality. We've given you a lot of things to consider, many small and different ways you can lift each other up that hopefully feel doable and authentic to you, whether it's championing a win of your own or a shout out or a coffee or a walk. I loved that. We all need to take some more steps. hopefully, it doesn't have to feel big and grand and transformational. It just has to be something that's consistent and that's authentic and that's yours. So with that, we would love to take your questions. And so I'm going to stop sharing the screen and we can all just see each other and take some questions. All right. Let's see. Any questions? This is a great one. Short of adding new connections on LinkedIn, how do you use it to connect? Jennifer, what do you think?
So I use it to connect. So one of the things that I like to do, and I think this is helping others. So if I meet someone that I know is maybe in the market, I'm thinking of recent grads or people transitioning, I encourage people to scour my network. I say, go ahead and look at who I'm connected with. I'm happy to make it an introduction. So that's one way where I want to leverage my network and to help a friend or a colleague if they're thinking about next moves. So I do think that those are some ways I connect people. And the other ways I use it to connect, like, again, if I have a question. So for example, if I want to learn about like a best practice in fundraising and I see someone in a similar position at another university, I will ask them if I can like have a coffee with them or meet with them or learn about something that they've done. So those are ways, because again, there's always something I can learn. So that's being open-minded and being curious. That's when those come into play. And then I'm just going to answer this question. How important is it to have a LinkedIn? I actually think it's very important, especially during this time when we've been working from home. It's just a great way to stay connected with people. And I think more and more people are using it. I saw there's like 756 million users around the world, like 200 countries and territories. So I don't think a LinkedIn has to be complicated, just getting yourself out there as a starting point. I know Berkeley offers a LinkedIn workshop, so I would check that out in the UC Learning Center if you want to get deeper into building it out. Charlotte, do you want to add and go into the next question?
Yeah, I think as Jennifer said, LinkedIn is a great tool to kind of learn more, either about your industry or something else. Like, it's a great way to say, oh, I saw you at this conference. I really liked what you had to say. Can I ask you a few questions? So I'm going to turn to Carrie's question. She had, as a new staff member who doesn't want to bother others, what's the best way to connect? I would first of all say, Carrie, I know you. You are not bothering anyone. But I think that, everybody remembers what it's like to be a new staffer at Berkeley. We all had our first day. We all had our first 6 months. And I think that there are ways that you can connect with people where, I think everybody kind of realizes I love talking to anyone. I'm always willing to have coffee. But I think a lot of people on campus are the same way. And I think that it's, there are a number of ways to connect. There are some staff organizations that are on, I can't remember where they are, but there's some staff organizations that you could join. But also I think that the culture here, we are large and decentralized, but people are very open and very gracious about sharing their time. And I actually think I've never had someone say to me when I've emailed them, no, I'm sorry, I can't have a coffee with you. And I think there's a couple ways to go about it. I think people in our unit, you can connect with someone laterally who has the same job function and learn about what they do in a different unit. And I think that many people are always eager to meet other people in the same job function. I think you can also, oh, thank you. Berkeley Staff Assembly is a great one, Benita. Thank you very much for that. There are I think that you can kind of think about what do you want to get from the people that, and I don't mean it in a transactional way, but sort of what are you hoping to gain from meeting different people? And then can you ask some specific questions so that when you do meet with them, they'll understand why you're meeting with them and they can frame and plan their time in a way that they feel will be helpful to you. Because I think another piece of kind of the Berkeley culture is we really do want to help each other, but we also don't want to waste time. And so I think if you make it clear when you're connecting with someone why you would like to connect with someone, and I'm new to campus, I'd like to meet other people, at your convenience, could we meet and talk about this or that? I think people would be very open to it. So that's a little bit of expanding that boundary a little and pushing on the comfort zone and just seeing what happens.
And then I can take Catherine's question. So who is returning to the office and how will it change your connections with both remote and in-person colleagues? So what was the favorite word of 2020? Pivot. So I think, Catherine, to your question, it will be a hybrid. So I think we're all figuring out our work schedules depending on our positions and our role. And I think some folks will be on campus more, some maybe not as much. So what will it look like? I also think being mindful of people's comfort zones. So just because people are going to the office may not mean that they're necessarily comfortable meeting in person. So, this is where we're compassionate and giving grace. Like, I want to make sure that a colleague who wants that, if I want to see someone, I want to make sure they're comfortable having a coffee or a walk. And what are the kind of the ground rules for us connecting in person? I'm still scheduling virtual coffees now. So I'm going to continue to do that for the short term and probably in the future as I think about, again, like what does it look like for me in connecting with people in person? Because I know there's a lot of, people have a lot of different reasons to want to connect in person, or maybe reasons that they're just not comfortable at this time doing that. And I want to respect that, but still maintain that connection. So I'm going to work with whomever I want to connect with based on their comfort level, as well as their availability. Do you want to take the next question, Charlotte?
Well, Anthony had a great suggestion, which is considering other events around campus where staff might connect with each other besides now. And yes, Cal Day is awesome. So, Cal Day is a great sort of time when the campus is open. Hopefully next year we'll have an official Cal Day. And, you're exactly right, Anthony, they are in host mode and it's a really great way to see the campus. Another great thing that I really love, as I said, as a proud Berkeley staffer, is I really love Staff Appreciation Week. And hopefully next year we'll have an in-person Staff Appreciation Week. And that's another great time to kind of meet people and see the campus. I think, Carrie, to your question too, there are a lot of kind of fun things that you can do. Like sometimes people like to connect around the Cal Falcons. And, there's a lot of Cal related things that we can talk about that are not necessarily work, but they are sort of campus related. And, you can watch the Falcon Cam with someone. I know that sounds a little silly, but actually a lot of people on my team like to watch the Falcon Cam. But there are a lot of great and interesting ways to connect to that are about, once you have a little sense of someone, a little more about shared interests and not just about work. Thanks, Julia, for putting up in the chat, the BSA for new professionals on campus. That's a great community of practice and way to connect. And the Berkeley Staff Assembly in general has a lot of great activities. And if you sign up for their email digest, there are also, go Falcons, yes. There are also, I don't know, I also really like to connect with people by doing these other things. Like they have like the Healthy Holiday Challenge, and they have like all these little exercise challenges. There's these things that you can do with people in the office that are sort of structured group activities that are a great way to get to know people outside of the work environment, that are also kind of fun and Cal related, that come up through either the wellness newsletter or the Berkeley Staff Assembly newsletter, that kind of break up the day-to-day monotony of work and get you connected to people outside of let's have a coffee. Tell me your job function. You know, it can be like, I did this workout, or we can, there's also another thing sometimes called Berkeley Walks, where there's like a walk around campus, and it's a great way to meet other people, and you get a t-shirt and you can take a walk and see who else is there. Does anyone else have questions? Anything else to share? This has just been a joy to spend this time with everyone.
Yeah, and I just want to echo thank you so much for your questions today. Just a couple more things and we'll wrap it up. I have personally enjoyed our conversation and we do want to give you some time back. So, but Charlotte and I will hang out in the Zoom room if anyone would like to stick around and ask more questions. Again, extending gratitude and appreciation for joining us. You had so many great options to choose from. It's been a pleasure to share space with you. We appreciate your participation and time. We look forward to staying in touch with you and hearing about your progress and successes. Please connect with us on LinkedIn, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day at the NOW conference. Let's pass it to Julie to close out our session. And Charlotte, do you want to put up our last slide?
Searching for the thank you slide. It will be up imminently. Okay.
And I'm going to pass it to Julie while Charlotte does that.
All right. So thank you so much, Charlotte and Jennifer, for a great presentation. I really love the idea of micro affirmations. I'm definitely going to lift that up and take that forward. Thank you so much for that idea. And so my job is to remind everyone to complete the session evaluation that I've added to the chat. So please do that if you can. That's super helpful. And then I guess at 11:15, there will be a break with an optional Zumba activity. So definitely take advantage of that if you can. And after the break, we hope that you will be excited about a second round of breakout sessions. So thank you so much for being here and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. And as Jennifer said, we'll be hanging out. If anyone just wants to chat with us, we'd love to connect.